beautiful down here in Destin, getting ready for a visit from Mr. Bob Cohen and his wife Lisa next week. So, yeah, would love to have you all down here in Destin. It's amazing. Anyways, what a blessing. Talk about invest in yourself. The reason we have our condo is because of the very subject you see today, that when you invest in yourself, you have a seed and then a time and then a harvest. So we're going to talk about that today. Make sure you understand the purpose of personal development. But I just want to start with my story. My story is I was born in a little town, or I was raised in a little town with 3,000 people. We literally did not have a stoplight. And so the question I want to ask you today, and I'm going to finish my story, is does personal development have a higher return for your success than your age that you started Legal Shield? Is it more responsible? Somebody needs to mute their phone out there, please. Is it your age? Is it your race? Is it your gender? Or is it your educational ranking that has caused your success? Or is it personal development? And we're going to take a look at that today and see which one of those things are, because maybe you think it's because of your job that you're going to succeed or because of your education you're going to succeed. And we're going to look at that. So I came from this little town. I was literally told in my town by my guidance counselor, you don't need any foreign languages. You'll never need to speak Spanish. I mean, they did not give good counsel. So very average people. Most of the people are still in that town, living, talking about that football game in high school and those kind of things. So how did I get out of there? How did I get out of this little small town? My entire family never went to college. My entire family's still there. They blue collar. My dad probably made the most ever in his lifetime, 30,000, maybe 35, something like that. So income-wise, wasn't there. There was no education in our family. There was no total blue collar. So I had nothing, no advantages at all, zero. At age 16, I started paying for my own way. So I had to pay my first car. I had to pay my insurance. I had to pay everything from 16 years old on, college, you name it, I was on my own. I had to figure it out in my mind, how I was going to save the money, how I was going to be able to go to school, go get an apartment, get a car if I wanted a new one. All those kind of things were up to me. So I had to think really hard on how to succeed, how to grow. And so I think sometimes because people are given or they don't understand, they can make a choice, they can determine their outcome, they can invest in themselves. They don't, because they think success is the boss that's going to give them a raise, or they just need that next associate. They just need that next associate. Or I've even met somebody that I can remember a conversation where I met a guy. He was very overweight. He wasn't very employed, not a very good job. And he's telling me, yeah, I want to find a 10 in a woman. I need to find me a 10. And I looked at him and I said, well, why don't you become a 10? I said, if you think that God would bless a girl with you right now with no income, you're not providing, you're not in shape, and yet you want a 10, but you're not a 10 right now. So the key in life is not what you want, it's what you become that attracts what you want. So that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
John? So that's what we're going to talk about today.
I'll find out who it is in a minute. I'm on mute, so.
John, you're not on mute. I can hear you.
I know, I just talked to you, so I'll see who's on there and I'll let you know, but you guys can mute out your phones, that'd be great.
So when I was 16 away, I would have to do whatever it took. I would have to waitress, I would have to do it, whatever. And I remember I was 19 and I got my first sales job in Chicago, which was crazy because I walked in to check something out and they hired me on the spot, which was, I had zero sales experience. So what do you do? What do you do when you are in something you don't know anything about, but you want to be successful? I start looking at books. I start looking at people. I can remember my first suit, I think, came from Kmart. Yes, Kmart. So because the small town I was in, that was the big store, Kmart. So I would go to Kmart and look for a business suit, so you can imagine what I look like out there in Chicago, right? Because I didn't know, I was never taught, nobody around me had success, so I had to look around. So I went and bought my first book, Dress for Success. I literally had to read a book on how to dress. And so my first book, Dress for Success, and then I would look at people, and they had attaché cases, I can't remember, and I thought, oh, okay, so I must need one of those. So I would get one of those, and then I read Zig Ziglar, See You at the Top. Okay, I need to have a mindset of success. That was my first book, Zig Ziglar. And so then I moved to Michigan, and I went and saw Peter Daniels. That's written in my book about this. He's an international speaker, and how to be a successful entrepreneur. And so I went and saw him, and he kind of talked about principles. And I invested $700 30 years ago in a program that would help me become more efficient. And so there I was. Now I'm 20 years old. I'm sitting in a auditorium listening to a guy named Peter Daniels, and he's telling, buy this program, but don't buy it if you're not serious. And I remember going, I'm serious. I want to be successful. So I went and spent $700, which is, a lot for a 20-year-old person buying a little personal development program. So there's my mindset. Then I go into my tanning spas. I start building my business. And in that business, you have to invest in advertising and marketing. And so then I would have this whole plan for the year. I knew a year in advance where I was going to invest my marketing dollars. I tracked everything. I knew where success came from, if it was radio, newspaper, coupons, Valpak magazine, you name it. I was tracking the result of that investment. So one thing, we invest in ourselves. The other thing, we track it. We make sure that that is the right thing we should be investing in. So that's going to make more sense in a little bit. So then we go into, John and I get into this business, direct selling business. And we invested, our first year, we invested over $50,000 in marketing, ad recruiting, and things like that, our very first year in this industry. Because our mentor kind of did that, and we watched what he did and how he professionally opened a market. If you're opening an Aflac office or Northwest Mutual, an Apple store, everybody has a big bang marketing campaign. So they go into the market with a blitz. So we treated this business the very same way. We put that kind of investment, and I'm so glad we did, because that's why we're where we're at today. So you're like, wait a minute, I've never heard anybody at Legal Shield talk about investing in marketing, and that kind of stuff. Well, that might be the problem, is because in order to have a true, legit business, you need to treat it like a business. So we want to invest in ourselves as people so we can become the highest and most productive person possible, and we want to invest in our business also. It's all about investing for a return. So let's go. Let me show you a glimpse of the Hoffman house right now. Well, my screen won't go forward. There we go. All right, so this is John's office, and this is the books in John's office. And we, literally, anytime I see a book that can help us grow, I buy it. It's an investment. Absolutely, hands down, I'm going to buy it if it's an area that we need to grow in. Here is our guest room, because we have so many books that overflows into our guest room. So that's some extra books, and then we overflow from the office to the guest room. So we have to keep it down in our storage. So here's at the top, you can see all of those are manuals. And then teaching classes we've gone to, the big thick ones, things that we purchased, teaching systems and different ideas on how to grow our mindset. Go to bed, you can see over here on the nightstands we have books. So that's how we go to bed. We have books on our nightstands. We have books above our fireplace. We have books in our office. We have books in our guest room. We have books in our storage. We have books in boxes because we can't keep. We don't have in our living room. We have books in our bookcases. So it's everywhere. And that is how do you do this personal development thing, the core commitments, 10 pages a day? What do you do? How does this all work in? Do you just do it when you sleep? Literally, if I'm going to the doctor and I know I'm going to have to sit in the waiting room, while I'm waiting, I have a book. Absolutely, I have a book. If I go in the car and I'm with someone and they might be in a store longer than me and I can sit in the car, I have a book in the car. I have tapes in the car. So this is kind of a lifestyle. I always have a book. John and I go together. I read while he drives, or we listen to a tape. We discuss things. We talk about things. Personal development. I'll be reading things and I'll highlight, and then I'll go through all my highlights of the book while he's driving, and we talk about it. And he's like, whoa, that's great. You know, and that interaction's going on. So it's completely an investment in growing our minds. All right, down in our basement, you can see this is our Success Center. This is where guests stay when they come over. So up in the, around the banner of the ceiling, we have all of the quotes. And so here's a better picture of that. Here's, you can see up at the top here, there are a lot of quotes in the Success Center. So when guests come in, they come to this lower unit. They have an entertainment center. They have a kitchen. They have a workout center, pool table, and a big, huge guest room. And they walk out to the pool and the jacuzzi and the waterfall and all that. So that's the Hoffman Success Center downstairs. So let's take a better look. What do we have on the walls? We have little quotes, because everywhere you go in our home, it's about personal development. What you can tolerate, you cannot change. If you can tolerate your disorganization, you're not going to change it. If you can tolerate your weight, though you complain every day about it, you will not change it. If you can tolerate your income in Legal Shield, though you complain about it and wish you were ED and wish you were platinum, all these kind of things you say out of your mouth, but you're tolerating your present level of production, you're going to stay there. So until you cannot stand it, you cannot stand it any longer, it will not change. I love this one. This is to all of you out there. This is to me. If you could only see you the way I see you. That's a message. That's like God talking to you. And he's saying, I made you for greatness. I made you to look and to act like me. The image of God is in you. So if you could just see you the way I see you instead of the way you see you, because the way you see you is producing your present state. So there's another quote down there. I could go into that one forever. To risk nothing is to risk everything. So the people you go and you talk to about Legal Shield, and they don't want to spend the whole $99 or $249. Woo! You know, like, wow. And I'm sitting here telling you, our first year in the business, we spent over $50,000, and they're like worried about $99 or $249. I was 16 years old, and I was buying my first car. Well, it was $200. By the time I was 20, though, I bought one for $2,000 cash. Have you? So paid cash. And so to risk nothing is to risk everything. Okay, you don't know what's behind yourself, what's in there, if you don't let the seed. Now, when a seed is planted, we're going to talk about that in a sec. Okay, first let's go to the problem. Okay, if you don't invest in yourself, here's the problem. So many people don't. They think the system is going to take care of them, the job, the company, something outside of themselves. And here's the reality, the median household income. We've seen this chart before, but let's go to, this is household, okay, so the middle person of the United States, 51,000 households. And then we go over here, medium net worth. Look at this. Look at the age at the bottom. You see the ages at the bottom. So let's pick out a 55 to 64-year-old has this blue is their total net worth, but that's because of their house. If they want to look cash in the bank, $45,000 cash in the bank. So 45 to 54-year-olds, they have $25,000 in the bank, cash, liquid net worth. So this is the net worth of the average, for the median net worth in America right now. So that's a problem. The system is teaching us to kind of like think that our success is in that paycheck or that salary, and they're not teaching you to be better, to invest in yourself. So what's the answer? Right here, Jim Rohn. Formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. It's you deciding that whatever weakness you have. So how do you do that when you're building your business? I'm going to give you a couple examples. Somebody might be on the phone right now, brand new in the business, a little freaked out about this whole change, has moved from Florida to Tennessee, and now they're moving from a career to this new business. And a lot of changes, kind of freaking them out a little bit. So what do I give them? I tell them, here's a book, Who Moved My Cheese? So that's what I'm going to give them, because they are not adapting to change. Also, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. to think like an entrepreneur, to start thinking like an entrepreneur. I love Darren Hardy's book, Compound Effect, phenomenal book that you would hand out. We had somebody that called us, an associate that called us, was very upset with their upline, just blame, this upline did this, and they said this, and there's this, and all this bad stuff about the upline. And so we're like, okay, we don't want to talk that. We won't ever talk against anybody on our team. So what do we do about this? How do we help this person? And so we suggested that that person read a book that helped them to realize they are in control. They are in control of their FAB, F-A-B, their feelings, attitudes, and behaviors. That's a whole other book called Boundaries, but that would be a great book. If you have blame and anger in you, read the book Boundaries, because you're blaming everybody else. Really, you're angry because they're doing things to you that you're not taking control of, and it's up to you to change. It's up to you to change how they treat you. You determine how others treat you. So we gave the book The Traveler's Gift. Write that one down. Traveler's Gift. We bought 50 of these books, and we handed them out to everyone because it is a success story, the 7 Principles of Success, but it's told in a storybook way, and it's the pastor of Brielle's church that grew from 40 people to 65,000 people in 12 years. His #1 book besides the Bible. The Traveler's Gift. So I thought, wow, this is one of the greatest leaders I have ever seen. He is so fantastic. And if he says that's the second book to the Bible, then I'm going to get that book. And so that was a phenomenal book about personal development. Somebody who's not encouraging their team, they're not encouraging their team, they're kind of critical, and they're always talking about everything wrong, I would suggest they read the book Whale Done, the word whale, W-H-A-L-E, done. And that's a book about how to speak positive to your team. So we use personal development. It's not like, hey, here's a book a month. Well, that's great. That's a book a month. But let's say you go to the doctor and you have a broken ankle. And your problem is your broken ankle hurts so bad. You sit on the crinkly paper, the doctor comes in, the doctor looks in your ear, says, takes your temperature, takes your pulse, and then gives you some medicine for your ear. And he walks out. You'd be like so frustrated because your problem is your ankle. Your ankle is broken, it's hurting, and it needs attention. But somebody who's kind of general is, hey, wow, I'm a doctor and I'm not going to really focus, but as a doctor, you should have really good, healthy ears. So that's true, you should have healthy ears, but your problem is your ankle. Okay, in personal development, somebody may say, here's the book of the month. Well, that's great. Okay, not a bad thing, but your problem may be disorganization. And you need to read books about how to get order. Maybe your problem is you talk too much and you over-talk your sales. So you need to learn how to say less to more people books. You need to learn how to be more impactful with less words. I'd be going and buying all those books if that's your problem. Okay, maybe you don't know how to network. Maybe you don't know how to close a sale. Maybe you don't know how to present. And I'd read Talk Like Ted. Best book ever, by the way. Unbelievable. Talk Like Ted. And it's the TED Talks. They examine all the great TED Talks out there. I've read it front to back. Love it. Okay, because as a presenter, I need to know what makes a presentation good. Talk like Ted. So formal education will make you a living, but self-education will make you a fortune. There's just a couple books of going to the broken ankle. So when you have somebody on your team that's got something specific, think of a book that will help grow that person in that particular area. So don't be a general, practitioner. Be a specialist and help them in their area that they need. Don't just, here's a great book, generalize. Give them what they need. All right. So what is the purpose of all these books? Read this, read that, read that. Okay. So there's a lot of people reading a lot of books, but there isn't any change. So I wanted to really help. Bring it down to the purpose of a book, the purpose of a seminar, the purpose of going to the international conference. What stuff, personal development, yeah, I'm into it. But are you? Okay, so this very little guy here, this little plant here on the left, that is the beginning of, let's say I buy the book. Okay, I bought the book, but I haven't read it. So I bought the book, that's a good step. But it's not in me. It's not gone in. The roots of the idea of the book, the change of the book, my mindset hasn't changed at all. Like my habits book, I wrote it, so it's in me. It's the roots are deep and deep and deep, and all kinds of things coming out. But how much fruit did I get out of my habits book, for instance? And I'm like teaching it and teaching it and teaching it, going around the country, reading it, I'm teaching it, and it's getting in me more and more and more. Well, what happens with that is that it starts talking to you. The book starts talking to you, and you start getting convicted because you know the truth in the book, and you're looking at some areas of your life that you don't have such good habits. And I'm thinking, okay, first of all, I always take the stairs. I never take that escalator because of my training. So I'm convicted there. I've always taken the stairs, but I had some bad eating habits. I was eating this and, not always very disciplined in that. So the book kept talking. And I'm like, okay, you may be using the book to get better habits in your presentations in your organization for your business and making more calls and those kind of things. But it can also be used to be a better fitness person, a better eating, better habits in eating. So I applied it to eating and fitness. And John and I applied it to eating and fitness, and so somebody's knocking at my door, and lost tons of weight, got in better shape. So I've lost actually 16 pounds, everyone, because I applied the habit book to my world, to my eating. And so once you read a book, the fruit on the right side, the fruit on the tree, just a second. I'm on a conference call. Okay, somebody's knocking at my condo door, looking at a floor. So sorry about that, everyone. So the purpose of the book, the purpose of the seminar, is not for you to go to the seminar so you can say, yeah, I went to the seminar. Yeah, I went to the international conference. Yeah, I read that book. It's to grow you to serve others, grow me to serve you. The more, when I read a book, when I go somewhere, the purpose is that I release that knowledge and become better to my clients, better to my team, more fruitful in my business, so that I can be a better influence, a better example. So it is not for the sake of just the book. So let's go on to the final. You've seen this before, maybe. If you have gone through these, maybe got a degree and you read all these books and you go to all these seminars, and we've all met that person that goes to these seminars and nothing changes. And they always want to tell you everything about the seminar. Oh, the seminar, the book, you got to read this, you got to read that. And you look at their life and you go, whoa, nothing. I wouldn't want your marriage. I wouldn't want your parenting style. I wouldn't want your finances. I wouldn't want your business, the way you talk, the way you network. Nothing in your life represents what I want. So you have to look in the mirror and say, am I actually putting this inside me and releasing it so that I can be successful? And this seed principle, if you haven't, this is a story about, there were the tombs in Egypt, and Miles Monroe went into these tombs, and there is a barrel of seeds that was in this, of wheat seeds that was in one of these tombs. And so he asked the guy, he said, these seeds that have been in this tomb for 4,000 years, have they ever been planted? And they said, yes, they have been planted and they produced a harvest. So the good news is, if your seed of potential, if your seed of success, if your seed of accomplishment is locked away in a tomb of your unbelief, in a tomb of your wrong thinking, in a tomb of your fear, because you won't go and do the thing, just by taking the seed out, putting it in the right environment, which is an environment of action, an environment of personal development, whatever the thing is that is separating you from success, my advice, what I do, Darcy Hoffman, I attack it. I like swim upstream. I like say, really? You think you're going to overcome me? Are you kidding me? I'm going to read so I am inspired. I am educated. I have knowledge, every ignorant part of me about that thing, because it's overcoming me. I'm not walking in victory. I am going to read about it, understand it, talk to people until I overcome it, and it's a new normal in my life. I now have the victory. It's now who I am. I am no longer living under that bondage in that tomb of average thinking. So you break out. That's the seed of potential. That's the hope that's in you. So it doesn't matter what yesterday. Don't even, what lies behind you is nothing compared to what lies within you. So over to you, John, and let's talk about what personal development means to everybody on the phone.
Great stuff. Great stuff. There's so many good little nuggets in there, and I would encourage everybody, go back and watch this a couple of times. Repetition's the mother of skill. I would also encourage everybody, be sure you communicate to your team to go and, garner an understanding, take their knowledge to another level, to move their energy toward exactly what Darcy just spoke of, and let people see what you're committed to, because when they see what you're committed to, what you're going to lead with, lead starts with self. So go ahead and raise your hand if you would, and we'd love to hear any comments that anybody would like to bring forth, or any aha moments. And Bob, I know you guys have been real big for years on that, a Book of the Month club, and so Bob, we'll go out to you for any comments you have.
Oh, I love it. Love the topic. Personal development has changed it all for me, folks. For the last 17 years, I truly have worked harder on myself than anything else. And, it's funny. I can always tell, John and Darcy, when someone's not, reading their 10 pages a day, listening to 30 minutes. And what do I mean by that? Because they let the little things affect them. The little, maybe someone doesn't show up for a PBR, maybe someone blows them off for a sit-down or, an overview. It's just the little things, and it's just like, oh, my gosh, you're letting that, ruin your day or, eat at you. And it's just so fascinating here, folks. I'm going to give everybody an amazing website. Today books are just so darn cheap. It's called half.com, HALF.com. It's absolutely incredible. The books that we can now get out there for just, literally less than $5 with shipping a lot of times. And you're right. I love seeing your libraries there. I've been there. I've seen it. I've seen the downstairs. I've seen your office, John. And I still remember, Darcy, one time you and I were driving to, I think it was Nashville. And what were we doing? We were listening to A.O. Williams. We were listening to his CD in the car as we were driving out there. So it's just so important, folks. Man, every day I always say, when you enter a room, do you brighten the room or do you dim the room? And it's just so amazing, because unfortunately so many people will go their whole lives and not even hear of Jim Rohn. They have no idea. Mike Wilson and I were just talking yesterday that he's never heard of Jim Rohn, and he's absolutely loving Jim Rohn. He goes for runs, and he's listening to Jim Rohn on YouTube when he runs, and he's changing his life. He's changing how he's dealing with people and his family, and that's truly what's so exciting with Legal Shield, folks. We actually have a joke that we're actually an amazing personal development company that happens to have 2 amazing products. So again, just start working on yourself, everybody. And you're absolutely right, John. This is a tremendous webinar today that everyone should just take a quick look at. Back to you.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. And I know when Darcy and I were just recently down in Atlanta for the big Southeast Super Regional down there, there's another book I would encourage you to read, and it's called Linchpins. What is absolutely amazing is, kind of the story and explanation of what and how our society has turned people into robots for the most part. And I think Darcy might have made the comment that, you were not born to be average. None of you on this phone were born to be average. But guess what? You've been trained to be average almost your whole life. Sit in that desk, listen to that teacher. When the bell rings, you can get up and go sit at another desk and listen to another teacher, And teachers are always teaching, for the most part, to the lowest common denominator, not speaking to the gifts that are in every individual. You see, all of us are original. All of us are unique. All of us are created in God's image. And as we're created original. And Bob's different than John. I think I'm a little bit different than my wife. And that's kind of funny sometimes, but we're just different. But within each one of us, there's strengths, there's gifts, there's desires, there's dreams, there's aspirations. And, the great thing is, what Darcy talked about today is the way you start to move toward an understanding of the greater potential that lies within each person. And the most important thing, Darcy, if you can go back to those trees for a minute, I love that. You know, I don't know where I just put my nose, but, you know, first a plant. The seed becomes a plant. The plant becomes a tree. The tree produces fruit. And that fruit is just not for us. The fruit's not for us. The fruit's to feed the world. You know, and that's what Darcy's talking about, to be fruitful and multiply. And I think that's just probably as powerful a slide right there is you know, what comes from the seed in the tomb. So, hey guys, I can't believe. Hold on, Darcy, just 1 second. You know, I'm kind of surprised nobody's raising their hand. You know, our investment is the conversation. Our investment is the webinar. Our investment is, you know, what Darcy puts in for 2 to 3 days and just studies to bring to you. Your investment is just comments or some input back, you know, and so, you know, there's just too many powerful things to come from this to have people not raise their hand. Maybe you don't know how to raise your hand, but if you just go to your dashboard under attendees, click where the hand is, we can call on you for any comments or thoughts that you might have. Darcy, go ahead.
CJ is out there raising his hand.
All right, I'll go back through it and I'll find CJ.
But I don't know how to unmute.
I got
CJ,
it.
are you
Hey,
up there?
CJ, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Fantastic.
I didn't want to make you feel bad over there by not raising my hand, so I figured, all right, there's so much good nuggets here. It's hard to put into words. You know, this just reminds me of a conversation I was having with a few associates the other day. But before I go into that, it's, you know, when I read through the Bible and the Scriptures, I mean, it's riddled with we are the fruit of what, you know, basically what is put into us is the fruit that we deliver. And, you know, I am the vine, you are the fruit. If you're not connected to me, how can you bear fruit? And I just think about that in Scripture and applying it to here, everything that you're talking about. Like, we are the sum of the books that we read, the people that we associate with, the seminars that we attend, and it's opposite too. We are the sum of what we don't read and what we don't attend, and really who we surround ourselves by. And I'm having conversations with associates that it's just not clicking for them, and it's not about the how-tos. It's about why. It's about what are you plugging into? What are you listening to? Were you on the webinar? Were you on the conference call? Did you attend the training that you would have heard this exact situation that you're encountered with, but you weren't on the call to understand that other people are going through it, and you didn't pick up on the nugget that you could have learned to apply. So it's about the personal development. So it's everything that, Darcy, you went over here. It's just phenomenal. So there's a lot of great nuggets here, and this business really is about personal development. I think it was Mr. Cohen that just said we are a personal development company that just so happens to have a rockin' legal identity theft product that we get paid for when we bring to the market, but we really get paid to become leaders. So, you know, again, just as always, wonderful nuggets, wonderful way to invest in my Friday morning. So thank you, and back to you.
John.
Thanks, CJ. Appreciate it. Yeah, Darcy, go ahead.
Can I just say something? CJ, you mentioned in the Scriptures, it always talks about seed time and harvest. The kingdom of God is like a seed. It's seed, seed, seed. Let me tell you all on the phone why. And you may not know this. Why does the parables always use a seed? If you can think, if I were in high school and I'm in math class, I can cheat on a test and get an A, and it can appear that I cheated. If I'm in a workplace, many of you know this, I can do things in the workplace that get me promoted that are not based on my skill set, my production, but do unethical things even, and I can get promoted. I can be president even. There's presidents and senators that should not be presidents and senators, but they do things to get that promotion. So that's cheating. That's not real. Okay, so it's interesting. God is not into any of that. Okay, we're talking about really you being fruitful. This is the real deal. Rubber meets the road. And a seed cannot be cheated. Literally, a seed has to go into the ground. It has to bust out of itself. It has to break out of its shell and then dig deep roots. Now, nothing's showing on the planet. You know, it's not above ground yet. It's just down there busting out of its seed, developing those roots. That's you reading the book. That's you meditating on the book. That's you chewing on that book. That's you thinking about that book. That's you eventually it pops out when you start to do the book, apply the book. That's when it kind of pops out and everybody else can see it a little bit. And then it grows and grows and grows and it becomes your new normal. It's the way you do life. It's your new way. But that seed is the only thing on planet Earth that cannot be cheated. It has to be in the right environment. It has to be cultivated. It takes time. It's not an overnight drive-up window, success story, get rich quick thing. The seed has to have time for the harvest. So I love that there is a reason he always uses a seed, and you may not have known that. So I just wanted to share that. Back to you, John.
Well, that's powerful. That is so true, man. You can't skirt the system. You can't cheat the system. You might look good for a moment, but you're going to get pounded hard, later. And that's, kind of like that old saying, time will promote you or expose you. Kimberly Todd, Tulos, out in California. Great to have you. Go ahead.
Good morning. I love these webinars, and I love the fact that for me, I'm always reminded that my seed of greatness in me is growing. It is developing. It is a muscle, and it is something that I can wrap my emotional courage around the fact that as long as I keep developing a good idea or a good philosophy on the mistakes that I make, I can keep going. And so I love these webinars. They've helped me actually grow and change and move toward this new normal. And I'm excited that these really speak to my spirit and allowing me to know that I am great. I am the diamond in the rough. I am in the process of becoming the leader that people are seeking.
That's awesome. And I tell you what, Kimberly, it's so true. It's like what Darcy put together, I think, probably a couple years ago. Understanding what you control. The hours you work, the presentations you do, and your attitude. Well, you just can't say, I'm going to control my attitude today. If you have invested into, a philosophy, if you've invested into renewing your mind, transforming your mind, then it just becomes natural. It doesn't matter what the market brings your way. It doesn't matter what the angry neighbor says. It doesn't matter what your, dream-stealing, fat, fear-belching brother-in-law says. It just doesn't matter because you know who you are. You know what you were created to do. Oh, you're doing that legal thing. Doesn't bother you one bit. You smile, you move on, and you realize that, hey, no isn't no until they K-N-O-W. And so that's fantastic. And Darcy, that was powerful. Just the parable of the seed is so healthy, is so strong. So let's go real quick. We got Mike Wilson. If you want to talk, we'd love to hear from you, but you have to go and put your access code and PIN code in, and you haven't done that. So we'll go to Laura Barker, then we'll catch Katie and Teresa. Anybody else, and we'll wrap up. So we'll get real quick from everybody else. And Miss Laura Barker in the Knoxville area, great to have you, dear.
Thank you. It's great to be on the webinar. These are the most teaching trainings that I think are available to us as Legal Shield associates, because it's not just about how to move the product. It's about how to grow as a person. And I love the Grow Me, Serve You. And John, you said something that really, repetition is the mother of skill. The more we hear it, the more we read it, the more we watch it, the more we do it, the better we become at it. And the seed is the foundation of everything. You have a seed for your business. You have a seed for your faith. You have a seed for success, you have a seed for personal growth. And if you water all of these seeds, they can't help but come up and produce fruit that allows you to serve other people. And one of the greatest things that Legal Shield has given me is the personal growth side of this business. And I am so grateful to the company and most and more to ShieldNation and these webinars, because you focus on personal development, and I just love it. Oh, and one other thing. Darcy, you mentioned, I think a couple of weeks ago, a book called Mind Gym, where you exercise your brain, basically. And there was that exercise by Pele, the athlete, that 30-minute exercise that he does. Well, I'm doing that, and I can't tell you what a difference it makes in my day.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's wonderful. So if you guys haven't read Mind Gym, I really recommend taking a look at that.
And no, that's great, Laura.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Laura. That's great. Love to hear about it, and that's what we love. That's that's how Darcy and I are rewarded, is to be able to hear how you guys put to work the different things that come through. And Mind Gym is a phenomenal book. Let's go out to another amazing young lady and a Millionaire Club member out in the Montana market. So we got Katie Huff with her hand up. Katie?
Good morning, ShieldNation family. I just wanted to add a couple things. One is that I think sometimes we get frustrated because that we're not getting the results possibly that we want. And what I would say is, and John, you and I had a conversation about this, is that, you know, we're constantly planting seeds by our activities. Our activities are how many people we're seeing and how many times we're telling the story regarding, you know, to companies or to individuals. And so, you know, our timing isn't always the company's timing or the individual associate's timing. And so when we had our little coaching discussion this week, it was just like, what are you doing? I said, planting seeds. I'm constantly planting seeds by doing the number of exposures and talking to people on a daily basis, which continual follow-up will, when you look at this, the purpose of being fruitful, you plant that seed, you do the initial sit down, you continue to follow up, answer the questions, continue to water that seed, nourish that seed, and eventually they will come around. Either A, they will join us as part of our growing organization as an associate, or B, they're going to see the need to protect their company and protect their employees through our employee benefits. So I sometimes, you know, we want the results yesterday, and we just have to be continuous, consistently and persistent on our activities, and obviously this personal development keeps our attitude positive. One of the books that I have recommended that has been very helpful for a lot of people is Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, and that literally is where we literally have the savers is what he uses an acronym. So you spend time in silence, which is prayer and meditation, the affirmations that we need to say. The visualization is the V in savers, and E is exercise, so we're taking care of our body and our mind through all of these processes. R is obviously reading, and S is then journaling and scribing and setting our goal and our plan. So that Miracle Morning is just an incredible book, fast read, and it literally holds you accountable to yourself and your goals and your dreams. So obviously these webinars are absolutely amazing. And one other thing to someone's point that was earlier is I truly believe those that are not showing up on these events that we hold for everyone to grow them and support them is that I use the analogy, if you're not staying close to the fire, you're going to get cold. And we're in all these different locations all over the country, and obviously I'm up in Montana. We don't have as many events as some of the bigger markets, but the point is this event will bring us together and keep us close to the fire, that will keep us motivated and progressing and build individual and as a company. So I'll send it back to you. Thanks, John.
Katie, great stuff, and I made this note, and it's kind of what Katie just said. I encourage you all to write it down. Darcy will probably turn it into another amazing webinar. Don't rush results. Don't rush the results. And real quick, think about it. A farmer who just planted the seed doesn't look out the window the next morning and go, oh my gosh, it's just not going to work. Those seeds, as Darcy just explained, are going to have to break through. The seeds have to go through a process of busting out of the shell, of busting through the soil, and working hard to get to the sun. You know, don't rush the results on losing weight. When Darcy started her program, you know, she didn't, you know, jump on the scale the next morning and go, oh, this just doesn't work. When you're building muscle, when you're restoring a relationship. Hey, there's some of you out there that maybe haven't been, you know, the best husband or the best wife or the best father or the best mother. I'm speaking to myself. You know, I wasn't the best father. I wasn't the best husband. You know, I had to at times restore relationships. It doesn't come overnight. You know, if I said something mean to my wife or if I treated my wife mean, I didn't look at her 20 minutes later and say, you know, hey, how come you won't give me a hug? You know, it takes time to restore. Don't rush the results. Don't rush the results in becoming an athlete. So anyhow, good stuff. And we'll go wrap up real quick. We'll go wrap up with Teresa Johnson out there in the Virginia market. She's got her hand up. Always great to hear from Teresa. Teresa, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hoffman and Mrs. Hoffman. Great webinar this morning, as always. But, you know, Darcy, when you started the webinar this morning, you asked our feedback on if we felt that our race, our job, our education or personal development, if that's what's made you successful. And I have to say that I think it's a combination of it all for me. But more importantly, I think the personal development has been able to sustain me more than anything. I mean, yes, the skills that I've learned, the skills are great, but if you can't handle adversity, if you can't handle the challenges that come your way, what good are the skills? You're not going to last. And so the personal development is so crucial. And Mr. Cohen said it best, and I even teach this in my Fast Start training class. I believe that, you know, this business, Legal Shield, yes, it's important to sell a membership, recruit people. You know, when we sell a membership, that's how we earn income. And when, you know, somebody else on the team sells memberships, that's how we earn income and get residual income. But the real crux of this business, to me, is personal development. Because, if I can't handle all the challenges that are going to come my way, especially when you know that you're dealing with multiple personalities. Some people have several personalities within themselves, but you've got to know how to deal with that person. With the example that you shared earlier with that leader that needed some additional coaching. But you've got to be able to read the book so that you can recognize and understand how you can better be able to help others. And I think that's important. And to me, the last thing is not just reading a book about how to win friends and influence people. Excellent book. I love that book. But it's also about reading how other people have been able to endure, how they've been able to handle the adversity. Like one of my favorite books is Unstoppable by Cynthia Kersey. I mean, what would Ray Charles have done had he listened to his teacher who said, why don't you just be quiet and just read baskets? That's all you're going to ever be good for. Well, we know the results of that story. What about Diana Ross? You know, you can't sing. We know the results of that story. What about Mary Kay, who was told by her financial planner, you know, nobody's going to buy this makeup stuff. You might as well try to recoup as much of your investment back because you're going to go under. She didn't listen to them. And so we need to understand also, how do other people get through those challenges? What are they doing? So read some of the books on, you know, the autobiographies out there. A great book that I have is even one on Barbara Bush. And it's not about politics and who I'm voting for. It's really how do they deal with the challenges? How have they been able to overcome them? And one of my goals is What It Takes to Be Number One by Vince Lombardi Jr. And, you know, it's about Vince Lombardi on leadership. And every time I read this one paragraph in it, it reminds me so much of our leadership here in ShieldNation, which talks about sacrifice. And he says, I think you've got to pay a price for anything that's worthwhile, and success is paying the price. You've got to pay the price to win. You've got to pay the price to stay on top, and you've got to pay the price to get there. And that, to me, is all about the price to the promise that we always talk about within ShieldNation. So personal development is key, and if you don't have it, you're not going to have the success that you deserve to have. And everybody should also have one last book. John C. Maxwell, his Leadership Bible. Excellent. I mean, if you really want to understand the Bible as it relates to real-world leadership principles, you need to have that book as well. So those are my thoughts. Back to you, John.
That's the Bible I have, Teresa. John C. Maxwell Leadership Bible. It's awesome, everyone.
Tell you what, a lot of good stuff. Oh my gosh, I got just another page of notes just from those sharing their comments from CJ all the way through to Kimberly and Katie and Teresa, and I hope you guys got all of that too. Just fantastic, fantastic. So, Darcy, any other final comments from you?
I just love how Teresa said autobiography. The book that I had mentioned, Traveler's Gift, is basically 7 autobiographies in one book, but that is solid. To read an autobiography of how somebody overcame, there's a scripture in Revelations that says we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. So that word of other people's testimony is a way that we overcome. And literally, we're in this business because of that very thing, Teresa. Somebody called us up and told us testimonials about how people succeeded as associates and how people succeeded by helping people with the service. And those testimonials are the only reason we kept going, because we weren't really interested. We were busy with other things, but those testimonials came to us. So even testimonials on our product and service can bring prospects in, and testimonials on success of others can keep associates going. So the power of that personal testimonial autobiography is phenomenal. Good idea.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And I would add one more quote in there from Jim Rohn. Excuse me. If life is worth living, life is worth recording. So if life is worth living, life is worth recording. So get your journals going. Record your thoughts. Record your aha moments. Record that move from price to promise. And let those that follow up behind you, be recipients of the seed you once were to the fruitful tree you are now becoming. So great stuff, Darcy. Appreciate your hard work that goes into every one of these webinars and time and energy. Trish for running the webinars when, and just doing all that you do and all the comments from everybody. So be blessed, guys. Let's finish February strong. Remember, lead starts with us, and drive that out to the organizations. Take inventory. And we look forward to seeing you guys at one of the next events that we'll be traveling to in the country. All right, be blessed. Talk to you all soon. Bye.